Welcome everyone to College COD. Yes, the division restructure has happened. We're now into the thick of the top cut and bottom cut, this time around visiting the Southeast region. And what a way to really introduce what is one of the more interesting, titles of a region than the Deep South. My name is Connie. Joining me, of course, today is going to be Zep. And we've got a very intense matchup today. USF Esports versus Southern Miss Esports. Florida versus Mississippi. I mean, a pairing in which that I have at least a good knowledge of, knowing across many sports across the USA and Canada, but at the same time, Zep, as well, we're in a different time, we're in a different period as well in College COD, where now we have, of course, got to play all towards seeding and positions for the conference playoffs coming up at the end of March.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, both of these teams, I still just think at this point, right, you're going to be looking to play your best Call of Duty, right? I mean, at the end of the day, there's so many different things with playoffs, the layouts, the way it works, the systems, I mean, they change year on year. At the end of the day, you want to be a team that can just set yourself up with the right foot going forward. I mean, you have Southern Miss Esports currently, as you can see on the screens, 8-3. Is a little bit of a better record, shall we say, than USF's Esports 6-5. But of course, still not records to be scoffed at. But you get to this point of the season, you're looking at this stage, and these records begin to pan out and begin to actually be able to give you an indication as to how these teams are looking to perform and how far they may go. And also gives an indication if you're on the side of a USF esport where you're very neck and neck in terms of your record, you're getting to that point where you begin to realize what you want to change, what you need to change if you want to make any real progression going forward. And again, as we take a look on our screens at the head-to-head, you have that season hardpoint S&D and control record. There is a bit of a disparity, especially looking at that hardpoint.
Yes, indeed. I mean, in terms of USF, they're at a negative stats 8-9, but Southern Miss, of course, are very, very strong in terms of the overall spread. Positive numbers across every single game mode, particularly the S&D. You see that Zep right there as well. 8-2 accompanied with the hard point means not just 80% of the best of 5 series is covered on their end, but same for USF Esports. We have to question exactly what do these numbers represent, because again, the one dimension is, okay, there's a mismatch here, but how have they improved from that time? Again, every single match has told a story for both teams, but when it comes to the overall positioning and what we expect, Southern Miss, out of the 10 teams in the upper cut, they're currently placed in 4th, USF are 9th, and yeah, this is sort of now where we start to see disparity as a huge conversation point, and really, can USF meet a tall order?
Yeah, I mean, USF, without a shadow of a doubt, have the harder series up ahead of them. But looking at that record as well, we can go down to the control and see that it is 7-4, whereas on Southern Miss, 7-3. Very, very even. And we talk about control as being that swing mode. It can be one that changes the momentum of a series. So if USF are finding themselves struggling after a couple of maps, they're finding themselves on the back end of how strong Southern Miss have been on both hardpoint and S&D. We know that they have the record of being able to pull maps back on control, and if you can pull them back in control and set yourself going forward, maybe you can elongate a series and give yourself a chance of taking it on either a map 4 or map 5, because again, for all we know, a lot of the wins that they've secured in hardpoint and search and destroys could be coming from map 4s and 5s rather than the 1s and 2s. So it'll be super interesting to see, especially with such a varied map pool that we're seeing on our screens here, what they're going to be able to take advantage of and where.
Exactly, and we have the series for you today. Hacienda Hardpoint Map 1, followed by a Protocol S&D and a Vault Control. Then, if need be, we'll extend the series over to a Skyline Hardpoint, and then back to Hacienda to round it out in an S&D. And looking at the veto spread as well, again, USF Esports immediately getting rid of Red Card Hardpoint. Same for Southern Miss, getting rid of Protocol Hardpoint. So we are playing what we like to call, Zep, the more flowy, fluid hardpoint maps in this series. Not a lot of room for the ARs, but at the same time, we do see a lot of sub-prowess now, especially given the patch updates and the weapon changes and the meta updates as well. Yeah, this is sort of now where I think the subs are starting to really find their footing. We saw similar patterns of play back in Black Ops 4 when the infamous Sorg hit scan update came in. Yeah, I feel like now we're having similar sort of storylines to subs being, hindered for the most part of the year, then at the end of the year having a massive buff. And the map reflections, of course, they show such a great story. The Protocol S&D, though, again, for Southern Miss, they have an 8-2 record. Phenomenal against USF Esports, but at the same time, no red card S&D for them, and USF wanted to get rid of Skyline S&D as well. So yeah, we're kind of seeing a switch up from really flowy hardpoint maps to slow, tactical, beautiful S&D maps. And the Vault Control in the middle, again, seems to be a really common theme in the current day meta, Zep. No one's really deviating from it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Vault Control, I've always talked about it. It's very similar to a Vault Hardpoint, I feel, in that it's just a bit of an all-rounder map. It's sort of a safe pick. It's one of those maps, kind of similar to Skyline, where you have no choice but to be really good at it. One of those key maps that you know is going to come up a lot. And then in terms of how Vault plays in a respawn, I feel like you can transfer over a lot of the skills between whichever mode. I mean, like a Hacienda Hardpoint, for example, I feel tactically plays a little different to a Hacienda Control when it comes up, but that is not the case for Vault. And it's one thing that we're seeing in this map pool is the variety that we're going to be getting in this series, which we love to see. I mean, at the end of the day, they do come up and, you know, we enjoy watching them, but no one really loves to see like a double or triple Vault or triple this and that. They want to see the variety. They want to see what these players can do in different scenarios, because as you say, we have fast flowing, free flowing Hacienda Hardpoint, and then all of a sudden moving into a search and destroy that gets a little bit more tactical, a little bit more reliant on what the ARs can do in the wide areas and the lanes that they can hold, while the subs kind of try and get in between those lanes, interweave and get the dirty work done. But that is also ringing true, I think, of the other maps in the pool. Like Hacienda Hardpoint, you can get a lot of control with the ARs if they can get set up in the right positions, but it's what you can do as a sub player to get in between the lines, catch the timings, read the spawns, that can then give your side the map control by picking up those kills, securing those points, and locking down that time.
Tactics, team play, all key themes of today's match as we get underway in an absolute classic Hacienda Hardpoint. And already, USF Esports off to a stellar start, 10 seconds going their way, already looking to install some setup on the hill, but mainly trying to control Garage straight away. This spawn was crucial for 7miss because they have to try and get some map control early on.
Yeah, absolutely. USF doing a great job here in this P1 as they try to get rotated towards P2 as well. You can see number 7 on your screen, Kiko, getting rotated over for a big fight against Rain, which Rain comes out on top of. So USF, they are holding down this P1. I've gotten a lot of time of it, but as you said, the big focus is going to be that P2, and a huge fight now out the back with Rain, who once again wins that gunfight. It's had massive 2 gunfights towards the back to play for those spawns, which may guarantee Southern Miss Esports the spawn. But in saying that, he still very much is on his own in this position and is going to have to do far more work around the back, as Kiko with that AR is going to pick up a huge power position for USF. And could USF chain these points together? It's not looking likely. They push forward from front, but Southern Miss have the spawns, can now hit from the back. And
it's going to be a very tough break here for 7miss. They are spawning in lobby, 2 exits to cover, and they're not opting again to spread the pressure across, rather stack the front of Garage, and that's where USF are starting to throw the nades, really stall this push and make it punishing. Nobody's breaking through, a lovely green feed, and 7miss have lost half of this hill already. A 50-point gap has formed. They're pushing through lobby, and they're trying to find a way through front Garage. No one's making the proactive call yet to wrap down the south side of the map and create these awkward flanks.
Yeah, I mean, USF, credit to them. They have done an immaculate job of pushing from the front here, getting a lot of that time. And I feel like we're seeing that more and more in hardpoints now. Teams happy to hit from the front, because so long as they get an initial wave of kills and they're able to get somewhere near the point, they can actually push people back into a choke point from their spawn. They know exactly where they're going to come from. As you pointed out, with the nades being thrown, they know exactly where they need to throw them to get them damage, to just funnel them through one by one. So great job from USF. They are in the driver's seat going into this P3.
And they've made a wonderful effort here, holding from the unfavored side on this hill. At least now team control has been dealt with, but we are seeing such a question mark being raised over the heads of 7miss Esports. Again, currently 4th in the top cut. USF, in a pretty stagnant record, are currently 70 points ahead. And I mean, Rebels having a fantastic series so far, albeit map 1. Can we see this continue further down the line? Well, the hardpoints definitely show a story that this man is putting a team on his back.
Yeah, absolutely. 11-3 with nearly 1 minute in hill, getting everything right. Meanwhile, you look across the board, you have Kawa 2-9, hasn't been able to start off well so far, as USF continue to be in complete control here, but a vital rotation coming in for Southern Miss, which could garner them a lot of time back if they can hold. But Kiko behind, disrupting the line. Can he pick up the second? He does. Potentially going to be able to pick up the third here. He is going to get surrounded, but he's given his teammates time to get closer to this hill and make it very back and forth if they can get pushed on. Although credit to Southern Miss, they have held on. But USF, they have just started with all players firing in all cylinders. They've started confident. Meanwhile, Southern Miss, they've just started off a little slow. And Southern Miss are the ones now that have to answer back. USF, we have seen what they're capable of on this map. Southern Miss, they clearly haven't gotten out to the races yet, and if they can begin to pick up a couple of kills, garner some momentum between hills, they can do damage. But so far, it's not looking like they're going to be getting any significant time with the way USF are able to clear out these points.
Rebel absolutely doing the Lord's work here, and listen, the scrap time will go the way of USF. 100 points between the two teams, and already we are seeing such proactive tendencies from USF early on. You're looking towards Rebel's arrow. He's holding down mid, calling the spawns for his team, and re-supporting the push for scrap time, keeping Southern Miss as far away as possible from the hill. Orbsy is the only person close, and he's dealt with a penny. Yeah, this is starting to be now quite a dominating showing so far from the Southern Floridas. And I just have to say, Zep, wow, you can't really deny what is going on here. Southern Miss need to find some vein of form and some, you know, core strategy to get onto this point, because USF are getting money on P1.
Yeah, once again doing so, but I have to say in the last 30 seconds, 1 minute, Southern Miss have been starting to get a lot of 2 to 3 pieces on that board and just clearing out most of USF. USF are able to fight back well, as you've just seen there, picking up another 2. It goes very back and forth, so Southern Miss aren't able to make the most out of the opportunities. But you talk about small steps, they're at least starting to create some opportunities for themselves, picking up some kills, at least giving themselves the opportunities now that they lock down spawns again for P2. And it looks like with their setup, they'll have a little more control of it this time around. But again, they need to slow down USF, who are able to play frantic, aggressive, and make it work. They need to start stifling their pushes and start chaining some hills together themselves. And even through all of that, it may be too little too late at this rate.
They've made a wonderful effort so far. I feel like, again, USF had a big say in what the first hard point was going to be. And on record, I can't see anything here from previous matches of USF losing a Hacienda hard point. Southern Miss, however, again, when you look at their previous records, lost to FIU Panthers on this map mode, lost to UCF Knights. It's easy to say as well, knowing the context, this isn't the best map for Southern Miss, but easily the perfect choice for USF.
Yeah, USF got the perfect map mode for them going into this first one, and what a choice to get as well in terms of starting yourself on the right foot for the rest of the series as they cross that 200-point threshold, almost at risk of 50-point clubbing here, Southern Miss, which I'm sure many people would not have predicted coming into this one. I mean, USF are just slaying across the board. Rebel, 21-9 with nearly 2 minutes in hill. He's playing that OBJ role to perfection and getting the kills to back it up. Meanwhile, you do have Kiko with that AR alongst a couple others, picking up those ARs, holding the lanes, doing a great job doing so, giving room for that sub to flourish. However, Southern Miss now on the point, and at this point, they might be in a position where they're thinking, okay, we may have to chalk this map 1, but we need to at least do something to stop the momentum of USF, because if they take this momentum into a protocol where they can continue this pace into an A bomb plant, for example, that all of a sudden spells real danger for the rest of this series.
Oh, lovely execute as well. A big 24 seconds for USF and an even more crucial 24 seconds for Southern Miss. This is really closing in. One more perfect hold and USF, or even half a hold in the hill, and they've got this game wrapped up in map number 1. And already Proof floating around P1, playing with a submachine gun, dipping out of harm's way. The team, though, are floating towards the north side of the map, meaning that Proof here has all the weight on his shoulders to stall the push. There's an overload here on the main apex of the hill. Kawa can't push through. There's 3 barrels pointed towards him, and it could be a dire straight, but Reigns died in garage. The flank is off.
USF just done a phenomenal job of rotating between all these points as well. Even when there's moments where it looks like Southern Miss are going to be able to get a little bit of control, they just instantly get wiped off the board. USF are just playing at a far higher pace, being able to slay out along with it. Just better in almost every single aspect here. Only 10 points and counting off the victory in this map 1. A well-deserved victory, a shock victory perhaps, given what we've seen of these teams in the hardpoint record going into this one. But one thing is for certain, Southern Miss have not been able to get into this game at all, bar a couple of kills here and there. They need a huge regain, as they're trying at least just to get over the 100-point threshold.
Maybe in consolation, Rain, not enough of an overload. Plenty of heroics. USF, the spawns from either side. The final last moments here. Who's on rotation? It's going to be Kiko. That's how you see it finished off. I mean, yes, beautiful moments in the end, at least from Southern Miss, to show the fighting spirit. USF, though, had the lead from the first moment of this match and just escalated it every hill after that. And Rebel, what can we say about this player early on? Well, he was 11-3 to start off this game. finished on a tidy 26-13. A 2 KD on the opener. The top cut already is showing some early signs of upset, as again, this is a team ranked 9th in the top cut. They are going to be going through to the conference playoffs, as is everyone else in this division, but still, you're just learning so much more information that you might not have done beforehand, Zep. What a fantastic opener.
Yeah, Rebel with an absolutely immaculate performance, and Penny Slays not too far behind him with a couple of kills less, and the deaths around the same. And I mean, you look at that gap in this hard point as well. I mean, USF were on top of it from the start. As soon as they got the amount of time that they did on P1, 33 points, you were already beginning to think something is up here. And as soon as they were able to hold from front on P2, rotate well to P3, they just gave a lesson on how to chain hills together beautifully, and also how to play around the hills when you don't always have the spawns. But of course, you're only able to do that if you're able to bring the gunny to the game, if you're outslaying your opponents, which they absolutely were. It was just an all-round top-tier performance from USF, and I'm sure they're going to be rearing to go for this map too, because they have proven that Southern Miss Esports, they can bleed, we can beat them, and maybe we could continue this momentum into the next map and even start working this series towards a 3-0, because if they pull it through in the search and destroy, they have a very, very strong control record to take into that vault where they may be thinking this series is ours for the taking.
And again, to mention the vetoes for search and destroy, USF opted to sit Skyline out for this one, whereas Southern Miss did not want to see red card at all float into this series. So it only really adds and alludes more of a conversation around how can we see USF continue their form into a search and destroy. The context at home but missing is the overall record. USF are not an S&D team on paper, but Southern Miss are. Their record currently stands at 8-2, which is arguably one of the highest so far in the top cut, and a big gulf in class. So what can we see from USF Esports? Rebel again's already a player to me and you, Zep, that has shown signs of genius early on, and he will have to adapt his game to a very different style and really trust the in-game leader and the coaching staff to get themselves over the line against one of the big dogs in the game mode. And if you look at the overall series stats so far, as we alluded to on the Hacienda Hardpoint, USF 5-1. I mean, Southern Miss as well have a respectable record, but USF, when we look through the notes as well from all the stories, I can't see any bad Hacienda hardpoints in there. There's a lot of context and a lot of modes of maps, but they floated in the perfect map 1, which again, as an underdog team, you need to have in a best of 5. The optimal first pick of the series to actually stand a chance against a team that scales up slowly. But again, this is quite scary, Zep. No reps on protocol for USF. They haven't floated it in at all before the restructure. Now in the restructure, it's been around 6 weeks of college card. They haven't even seen Proco S&D as a team. It's not ideal. Southern Miss though, 1-1. Yeah, it's still quite a large disparity when you think about it. They've experienced it, they've seen the pros and cons. USF hadn't had a chance even to look at what can go right or wrong for the team on Protocol S&D.
Yeah, it is a worrying thing to see, but I think what will worry them more is that if they're unable to pick up this protocol and they have to go towards a map 4 or 5, you will look across the board to see that Southern Miss are flawless in both of those map modes combinations. So they very much could be banking on the back half of this map catalog. So wanting to make sure USF to try and get it wrapped up here, and not having any reps in the map definitely is not what you want to see going into it. However, we have seen from that map 1 that they enjoy playing at pace and were able to outpace their opposition and therefore outslay them. If they were able to get into a position where they can consistently get pushed in and control that A site, then maybe they see themselves in a situation where they come on top on this map. However, if they get dealt with ARs, if ARs are controlling the lanes, controlling the range, and keeping them pinned back, all of a sudden you could see this map going the other way, at which point they're in real trouble for the rest of this series. So USF, make no mistake, this is a hugely important map for them right now.
And already, a mainly high ground oriented strat here from Southern Miss to try and float it over towards B. USF though have Penny Slays in the back ready for the cutoff. First blood is drawn, and this is where now you start to introduce information towards Kiko. He's holding his life, stun checked and away. It's only a momentary stall, because look at what USF are doing here with man advantage, blocking into groups of 2, a cut off in mid as well to try and make sure Southern Miss can't cross bomb, and they've planted it optimally for the helicopter. Now this is not what you have to see. Oh, USF wiped away. All 3 players in prime positions, isolated beautifully by Rain, Orbsy, and Kawa. Kiko left all alone. 25 seconds. And this again, Despite a first blood not going their way, Southern Miss find a way to plant the bomb, and the 3v4 post plant, a very risky strat, Zep, they find a conversion.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, take notes on how to push B as a team, because that was immaculate, going straight through the top. Again, being aggressive with it, which I'm surprised they went so aggressive towards B side off the rip, but it worked for them. They managed to get USF pushed back onto positions to where they just ultimately felt outnumbered, had to win their gunfights and couldn't, and just really applied the pressure early on. Terrific round from Southern Miss, and USF are going to have to try and answer back quickly. I'll be very curious to see which route they take now on offense.
USF, a team notoriously, again, the underdogs here in the Search and Destroy. Held man advantage, couldn't convert the round, but this time, Penny slays alongside another. Gets that first blood drawn. It's going to be proof. A lot of population here in the underground bunker. A seems to be on the menu for that post plant. But it is mainly right now a re-clear, check, and recon situation for both teams. Not a lot of information spread so far across the map. Everyone's playing wall to wall. And they're just slowing it down, trying to find an opening.
And Southern Miss love playing the width of the map. Once again, you see Shron over on the helicopter. He gets taken out by Kiko. They've done a great job, USF, of pushing him off that key position as Rain tries to rotate out with his life. You have to praise the patience of USF here, who've slowly but surely picked off Southern Miss, just leaving Orbsy the last alive. I'm going to have to try and at least get a pick here somewhere, but USF, they're clever. They know just to regroup round A and run down this clock and hold their positions. Orbsy's surely not going to be able to pick up this kill at this point, and you have to rotate out. No real options on for him, and USF had to play that round slower, but it worked out for them immaculately.
And Orbsy again. Can't find a kill behind tank. A lovely jump shot from USF, and they even it up one apiece. And the round, like you mentioned, was broken down a lot more strategically. I think the mid portion of the round, where both teams slowed it down, heavily benefited USF. They had the timing, they had the better positioning, and even on the wall-to-walls, the submachine gun players had the guns up at all times. They knew to clear the corners. Southern Miss felt like, again, they were trying to watch some big team flank or a big team cross through the mid-map. Just wasn't the right call at the right time. But still in the opening rounds, it's just both teams figuring out what are you trying to do against me and how can I manipulate that. Set things go over the top. And this time on board with Orbsy, just watching over the long arching open north lane. Both teams again populating towards bunker. Shots go down. A player pushing up from USF gets that first blood again. Of course, Rebel. Who else is it going to be?
Rebel has been the king for his side here at the moment, as it does seem to be actually a B push going on again for Southern Miss, which again, I'm really surprised that is the route they seem to want to be taking, but is working for them usually now with a 3-2 life count. Is a very good position for them to be in.
Oh, but they've played it well. The bait and switch. Southern Miss played a tight setup, so if one player were to die, the trade would be there, keeping that man advantage, and a 1v2 for proof in a very hard setup. And a submachine gun as well. Needs ideally the AR to deal with the helicopter presence. Hopefully find a kill, but no. Beautiful shoulders and a small waist glitch on the ledge allows Southern Miss to convert an easy final kill. But that round, man, I mean, it was just impressive to watch just what USF were doing here in the post plant. We have to mention Rain. Before this round started, 3-1 and a plant. He's the bomb carrier for the team, and he's putting up numbers. And always one common stat and one common trend in S&D, a bomb carrier with a wonderful output for the team and high plant rate, more likely will win the attacking rounds. That's half the game covered, Zep.
Yeah, and what's scary for USF is, I believe it could be mistaken, but I think they've gotten first blood virtually every single round. And Southern Miss Esports, they're a side that's really happy to control the lanes and the points of interest. And USF, they've dealt with them so far on the offense, but not so much on the defense. And now that they've been first blooded for the first time, and Southern Miss will have the numbers advantage towards these POIs, it's going to be very difficult for USF to be able to group together and sort of bait and switch players out of positions to get those picks.
Exactly. Counter draws first blood, and you see that behavior from USF. There's 2 players to 1. Proof is still on an island. Southern Miss are very compact here in their setup, not letting a room to breathe. And they are just eliminating every single player out of position. Rain doesn't even need his teammates to find those 2 kills. He's just slid across with the Amy's. Bomb has been dropped. And now, not just an impossible 1v4, but also a recovery job for USF. If they were to convert, it wasn't the story to be told. Southern Miss leading now 3-1. That record is starting to make sense to me now. It was scary at 1-1, both of us figuring it out, but now we start to see where the leadership comes into play. Tactically speaking, this has been a really impressive showing so far. Southern Miss, an S&D team at heart.
Yeah, USF are looking like a side at the moment that does not have any reps on protocol, really. You're not enough in comparison to the rest of the teams because they look a little lost on the map. That round that they took, again, it was nice. It was tactical. They managed to play the picks, but it was a little bit frantic. There was no real game plan in place, you feel, for winning that round, whereas Southern Miss Esports, the way that they play this map, the pushes that they take on, it seems very much by the book, how they want to play it, things that they have practiced in training, and just doing the basics right as they now flood on towards a sort of the most Route 1 play to do on this site. But if you can do it right, you have a brilliant area to lock down, and now in a 3v3 with that bomb down, USF are in a very tough position to get this defuse.
3v3, but USF can apply to press at any time. They're starting to split around now, trying to get all 3 lanes of entry covered, and even can throw tags at this point. Rain's got an RC car, hoping to save it for later rounds, of course. Brings so much value towards the end game for S&D. But even so, they've held onto the utility as well, just fantastic. USF, Rebel, can apply pressure. Strano's numbers in mid aren't met. Kiko, now we're drawing into a 1v2. Penny finally converts. 9 seconds left on the clock as well. And that press was always there for USF. They timed it well, even spread out the setup to cover all 3 lanes of entry onto the site. And there wasn't really much more you could ask for. A lovely route, a 3-2 score so far.
Yeah, massive round for USF, which they played really well to be able to deconstruct that hold. I think it is going to be a case now of they're going to be buying way more for this A site, because if they can get in around this A site, they've proven that they've been able to get control of it. It really does seem to be the case of sort of ARs versus subs in the sense of long distance versus short distance. If it's tighter lanes a site, if it's more enclosed, USF seem to thrive. That seems to be their area. But if Southern Miss are able to keep it open, if they're able to keep it widespread down the lanes, and that really does benefit them. And of course, you would look at that B bomb site then being one that they will continue to target from here on in, especially after seeing that A didn't work out for them.
And I mean, as well, for a gun that has taken a battering as much as the Amy's have as well, just from tuning, just from patch updates, it's still so viable. And the subs are finding more success now at longer ranges. Still the absolute god gun. And Penny posting up on a helicopter. Not sure if he's trying to be elusive here or trying to get a blood, but it's not to be met. Not a line of sight to cover. Cower slips away, draws another for Southern Miss. And we're starting to see not just a 5-2 performance, but at least 3 first bloods now from the young man himself. Absolutely opening up the rounds for his team. And we're slowing it down once again. Only really is Penny so far away with bomb. Really risky position. Has to be elusive in this state of play as well. Can hit the rappel. The knife throw. Oh, that's missed. Maybe full damage. I'm not sure what happened there. But there were so many instances where that could have gone wrong. And Kiko spots 2 players. Used the stun already. Has the nade spare. Time's ticking down so fast. Stran's found the route. Proves traded it out. But where's the bomb? The bomb can't be planted because everyone's dead. Southern Miss. In moments of chaos, they find the kills. And they found the correct way to lay out the strategy, to lay out the kills. It's just beautiful Call of Duty to watch. And all it was Orbsy again, holding position, missing the knife originally, makes up for it in the end with the final kill.
Yeah, Southern Miss, I don't think we'll say that round went by the book in terms of the round win. But hey, a win's a win when it comes to these rounds. And, you know, USF, they had slowed it down. But I honestly think that they were slowing it down because they felt like they were running out of options. I feel like they're the type of side, especially when it comes to a protocol search and destroy, given the lack of reps, is that as soon as we go deeper into a round where it's not as much about routes, but more so just the understanding of what's going on the map, they just find it to have real trouble to gain any sort of control. And Southern Miss seem to have been exposing that quite well on this one.
And there's lots of tension right now. A few set nades have flown over, but Rebel's position again is just capitalizing on Southern Miss's over aggressive tendencies. Slipping away. Now just in a 3v2. A lot of time left on the clock as well to mention. Rain spots one up here. Finds the kill convincingly. Holds down the line of sight. But oh, this is not the ideal situation. He's pressed in. has to run out. Down to Orbsy. What can he do in this situation? Again, reclaiming the position. But USF are rotating now towards B. They expect at least the plant now to come in at any moment. The prediction is going to be massive, considering now they've set up both players ready for a press on either site. The trophy down will help if they have said any utility. It's completely useless now to 7 miss.
Yeah, Rain is going to have to go huge here, I feel. 8-3 with that sub in hand as well. It's going to be a massive player for playing this defense, because USF, I think, are a strong team when it comes to breaking into positions, but it will be all about who gets that first pick, really. And they're going to be hitting this together, USF, as well. So a massive push coming in here where Penny Slay is able to pick up the first, leaving Rain all by himself on the defense, puts bullets in both, but takes down neither. And this is not the position you want to be in if your Southern Miss gets taken down. Another defuse coming in at around that 9-second mark. And you have to credit USF when it comes to breaking that A site. They're patient and they have their timings down to a T. They're never in there slightly too late.
But the 1-7 Grace again was the trophy going down for Southern Miss. It blocked a couple stuns coming in, so they had a lot of room here to have the guns up first. But again, Rain was up in the 1v2. Not ideal. The second player on site losing the life early on. Again, it's about holding the position, but at the same time not allowing so much freedom to USF, because in that 2v1 they've 12 seconds left. It could have been as simple as, I can just cover you on bomb. Rain had to check, and also Rain again had to watch the press because he has to be dealt with such little time left on the clock. Still now, very close game, 4-3. Southern Miss have to respond well with a strong defensive plan. And they immediately cover bunker up. Rebel here has already gotten information on 1, but has to hold his life in situation. Teammates called down to help and support, while the remaining 2 are outside on the extremities, ready for a pinch if need be. Southern Miss really, compacted themselves here on this site. They know it's a favorite for USF. The rotation could be there, but this is where Strong comes in as well in the later round. He's holding helicopter.
Yeah, Strong is completely locking down that site, nullifying B, because USF just know they're no way ready to push him as Rain gets another first blood. Rain has been absolutely outstanding for Southern Miss, continuing to pop off, and is one that sort of breaks the first blood really in a round where both teams were doing a great job of playing their lives and being very tentative in terms of peeking out on those key angles. But once again, USF finding themselves stranded with that bomb with no real routes to go and the clock ticking down. They really do not have a lock in these rounds when it comes to the offense. It feels like these rounds that they're winning, it's a situation of they're rescuing them more so than dominating them.
Oh, Penny left in a 1v3. Time ticking down again. Similar habits happen again. An overload, a man advantage for 7 miss, and they're starting to again understand not just what the win conditions were for the last 5 rounds, but it was allowing at least Rain to be alive. He is the bomb carrier. He is the one coordinating the attacks, and I can definitely sense that he might be the leader in a lot of these mid-round calls, opening up so much room for 7 miss to execute beautiful strategies. USF now, you start questioning mentally, losing 2 to 3 break attempts onto bunker, and they're not going to let up 7 miss and holding it in their attacking round. This is where we start to see at least a deviance in their original break-off. We're seeing Orbsy float towards the north side with the AR, but everyone's going to join him. So they're going to try and send bunker early. They have to watch again for the cross. Penny has that covered, but again, it's just tentative. No one's really holding an AR up. They're just throwing stuns to check and holding their lives. Maybe 70 seconds left in a 4v4. They can get better positioning, which they are now. Look at this green surge towards the north. Tower has to read 1, but no, never going to be the case. Kygo had the first shot and the first blood.
Yeah, Southern Miss were a little bit tentative on the push towards that A site, perhaps understandably so, but you would think the variety that they're introducing to the plays in the way that they push would be an advantage to them, but in pushing too slow, they gave USF time to react, which has ultimately just allowed them to get these picks, leaving Rain all in his own, and he's been good this game, but he ain't going to be that good as the kills come in. Flawless round for USF, who I think capitalized on a little bit of a mistake in Southern Miss, purely by the fact that Southern Miss aren't being as aggressive towards getting in and establishing locking down a site. There was no need to play the picks and the variety of the push.
Absolutely. I'm looking as well at the scoreboard. Rain has had 5 plants in this match so far. That's insane. There's only really one strategy that, 7 miss tend to go towards, and that's always a post plant. Whereas USF hopefully catch an aggressive slip up that we have seen before. from Southern Miss, where they do overextend, and USF play dirty off angles with submachine guns, make it a 4v2 straight away. It's nice to see these two clashing styles and just how S&D can be played. But again, the leadership, that's what has Southern Miss in the lead right now. And look at this push already. Was not expecting it. Rebel was completely boxed in. Reigns taken down. All three of them. And Kiko again playing the island. Yeah, that's not the ideal spot to be in for USF. He's been spotted on turret. The team can happily play safe now, knowing that their star player has dealt with the entire mass of USF Esports. A humble one remains. And Kiko is just, tempting fate. Shots will go through. Southern Miss, a 6-4 win in the S&D. And so far in his best of 5, a now official 1-1 score. A Vault Control awaits in the next map. And oh my goodness me. Both teams, again, like we mentioned, Zep, from the original scores, are very even in this mode. So we might actually see, one of the more scrappier games coming up. Because this right here was just leadership to a T. And Rain really controlling the troops.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations on that one. The Southern Miss Esports raining down hell on USF as they ultimately dominated them in that one. I think you have to give credit to USF for pulling back certain maps, or certain rounds, should I say, where they did, but ultimately they never looked like they had real control of the map. They never looked like they had any semblance when it came to pushes or strategies. It was very much, as I said, during the rounds, it was rescuing the rounds rather than dominating them. When Southern Miss just kind of went route one and just played by the book, hold the angles they felt comfortable with, it was clear that they had more reps on the map. As you see throughout the majority of the time, they pick up more of the first bloods, they pick up the win 6-4, and they're looking confident now going into a control that, as you said, should be a little more even. But I wonder now if Southern Miss have finally found their form after missing the mark in map 1.
And you have to mention again just what was done so well. I mean, listen, the strategies, they're just so different from both of them. Southern Miss on the attacking rounds, they really prioritize getting the post plant and trying to convert arguably the harder side to play on a protocol, whereas USF, obviously, again, a great defensive team. Mainly a lot of these battles though were fought in one area, and that of course was bottom control, or otherwise known as the bunker room, where that bomb is, and it's always a foot race. Sometimes the pressure is met, sometimes there's an overload, but things always can't be in control, especially when you know that things on S&D are just so tentative, but the movement mechanics are always beautiful. And why not have a better moment now than to, of course, to mention our wonderful partner for this series and for the overall college COD, Scuff Gaming. I mean, listen, you want to rise to the top of the class with Scuff, the exclusive controller partner of college COD. And yeah, Southern Miss Esports make it up 1-1, and you can't deny just how good it has been so far.
Yeah, you have to give a massive shout out to Scuff for sponsoring College COD, and you have to give a massive shout out to both of these teams as well. I mean, the way that they've played in this series, it's been such an interesting back and forth so far. I mean, honestly, watching these two play, I mean, having a hard point that seemed to really shake things up. Granted, we did see that USF have a better Hacienda hard point record, but I still think no one would have really expected them to do such a job on the likes of Southern Miss, who have a far better hard point record going into this one, and then going into that map 2. As you said, I mean, you have to give credit to USF here and there, right? Like, I do say Southern Miss were the better team in that map, rightful winners, but you alluded to it during the map. USF played some dirty COD from time to time. They were just holding these little angles with the subs. They were playing later into the rounds, picking up these unique routes, should I say, and they made things scrappy. And I think that ability to make things scrappy when the cards aren't necessarily in their favor is something that they're going to be able to look to as a positive, especially going into the back half of these maps where you have the Skyline Hardpoint, for example, a map that Southern Miss are currently flawless in. If USF can play those dirty routes with those subs and really shut them down there, you could see a surprise victory for USF yet, but the Vault Control coming up soon should be a hell of a map to watch.
And it will be. Both teams are even across the board on the map mode combination, and it's set to be one of the more entertaining ones in today's series. Don't go anywhere. We're going to a very quick break, but shortly afterwards, joining back with a Vault Control. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you very soon. Welcome back, everyone, to College COD. We are currently in the thick of it. That's right, USF Esports versus Southern Miss Esports. Currently tied 1 apiece. We're heading into a Vault Control, and already we've seen some pretty impressive signs in the respawns from USF Esports. A very dominating win in the Hacienda hardpoint, 250 to 85, a constant 100-point gap as well to mention. Now we have to, of course, float over to a control, despite, again, Southern Miss Esports showing why they have an 8-2, now 9-2 S&D record. 6-4 to finish it off, with Rain showing incredible leadership skills. We have to go over to, again, the game mode. That is just the biggest question mark so far in this series. Even across both scoreboards for both teams, a 7-4 total count. They have to now at least try and see who is the better side in what could be the turning point for the series. The only real big decider, and it's going to be on a Vault control.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways that this map can go. I mean, looking at USF, if you're trying to pick up the positives, right, they had such a strong map, number one. But again, I'll go back to it. It was very frantic, very all over the place, very hectic, and they did revel in that. Southern Miss Esports are the type of side that we've seen from the Search and Destroy that I think revel in having a map be a little bit more stable, a little bit more there to control when it comes to actually watching lanes and having those power points be there to hold over and keep the subs from getting pushed up and doing damage. Whether or not they can stop the subs of USF getting into those key positions is yet to be determined. But I also have to give a lot of credit, as I said before, to USF. They have the ability to make a game awkward when it's not going their way, whereas we've seen from Southern Miss in that Hacienda, they were barely able to get their foot in the door when it came to disrupting USF. But USF done a great job of stifling Southern Miss and at least making that Search and Destroy interesting, when we could very easily tell from how they were playing that they felt a little bit mismatched on that map because of the reps that they've had in the previous. So going into this map 3, even if Southern Miss are on the up, I'll be very curious to see if USF can disrupt that form at some point.
And already the opening is similar to the S&D. Rain draws the first bloods, and already USF are immediately overrun. No population here on A, and at least a third going to web. Southern Miss make it 2, as they're trying to go for what we call the emphatic start. Have a low life disparity, only 27 at least, to try and get A converted, then dump all their life and efforts on B. The much harder point to convert. What can USF really do about it? Well, again, they've got the optimal setup in place. Penny's covering the long cross with an AR. They've got 3 players floating around mid, 2 of which are fillers to support the north side push if need be. And if Southern Miss were to spawn there, they have to try and now read well. Proof is running behind enemy lines to try and make sure that they are near pool at all times and nowhere near B. This is USF now in control of the push.
Yeah, USF done a great job there regaining after losing that A point, just getting pushed up, as you said, towards that B lane, forcing the spawns towards P2. However, you have to give credit to Southern Miss here. Kawa has been a part of the push in getting round outside through that P2 spawn, through the back, and now will potentially be in spawn, ready to do damage. Kawa could get up top, get that arc control, and have that as a key position locked down to assist his side in the push towards B. But of course, he isn't seeing anything because USF are doing such a good job being so pushed up into the spawn here of Southern Miss, who are struggling to get going.
And look at the way in which the players are spread across the map here. The only person really cutting the line is Kiko. And there isn't really enough pressure here or teammates to support it. He's just holding this by himself and, you know, trying to make sure against Southern Miss overextend through the middle of the map, which could be, you know, one of the more crucial factors to assess. Because they could lose their lives and then immediately Southern Miss will have the overload again. Rebel, though, holding on to a 5 spree. 7-2 for himself and not dying in mid. Teammates as well covering the exits. He's free to run around and be the rat trap. But Southern Miss now opening up more pressure in mid, and there's no overload on the north side. They can now start towards their first draw attempt on B. Kiko, though, is trying to stop that and nade to go over the top.
Yeah, huge 2-piece there from Kiko to sort of stifle and slow down that push, and now USF will be able to get onto the point. Rebel with a huge 2, and Penny slays, trying to get the nades out over the top, push them back 5-17. USF have annihilated the lives of Southern Miss Esports here, who again had a couple of moments, got that A capped quick, had rotated through the back from time to time, but were never really able to make any use of it. But saying that, a 3-piece out of nowhere, they're going to be able to get the quad stack on this point. Have USF thrown it here?
No, hang on a second, there's trophies as well, but they haven't thrown them down. They're just going to try and stack this one. Yes, then there's 2 there. Oh, Penny's run through with the AR, and this could be quite devastating. One last contest, and there they go. They're all gone. It was a wonderful effort from Southern Miss. They will have 2-thirds on the board, but down to just 1 player. It was the gambling play. They had trophies down. They had the setup ideally there. They just couldn't read the swings. And USF had all the confidence in the world to get them off, had the urgency. Southern Miss were completely static on the point. And you felt naturally that's all you have to play. That's the only route you can take to try and make sure time is there. And when a contest comes, then we react. Well, bad news. It's an open point. And there was a player in top palace, 2 running around on the point itself. Yeah, very much a really hard one to come back from. Still a very good round and a conversion at least for USF. I'm very impressed in terms of the attacking play from Miss. They have they've found a way again to crack the popular strategies from the pro players, and that again is just holding A, getting it out of the way as soon as possible, then floating over towards B and trying to spend all your lives there. But unfortunately, the economy wasn't quite there.
Yeah, I mean, Southern Miss had the ability to make that far closer than they did. I don't know how they managed to get 5 ticks in the end up, because it didn't look like they were getting a sniff at B until right in the death. They pick up a huge wave of kills, get on for the stack, and make it count. But now USF going for a play of their own as they're beelining it straight to this B site, and Rain's not going to be able to pick up the kills. Huge 3-piece from USF as they're now stacked on this B. And talk about a terrific start at A the round before. This is a terrific start on the other point.
Horbsy again, met with pressure here. Wow, not seen this before. USF go to B straight away and get it converted. Now it's just an easy A. Hang on a minute. I haven't quite seen the... Oh, my word. No, I understand it completely. Southern Miss did not understand the pressure towards north side of the map. They're expecting, you know, to copy-paste strategy from A to B. But USF timed the 4-stack perfectly, and it was 7 seconds that they all missed. The wipe was there. Everyone listened to the call. And now it's just, again, a trading fest in mid. But what has Southern Miss done to respond to this? They've gone aggressive. Look at their line onto the spawn of USF. They have to hold this at least now for another minute if they want to have a chance to get the lives down for one. And then the pressure applied on all the exits to get into the point. It really is such a big ask and lots of mechanical adjustment.
Yeah, and USF have already done a great job of getting rotated out, just trying to push down towards this B line, which may not be the play to make, especially with the lanes that can be watched as Rain and Strawn pick up those kills. But now it is going to be USF getting onto this A point, but they need to be able to get a little bit pushed up and get more control. You still have players from Southern Miss in the spawn, such as Kawa right now, just being a nuisance towards this P2 side, and continuing just to hold the area, constantly making USF have to check their backs, which is really stifling their ability to get stacked and allowing Southern Miss to still keep a relatively high line towards their spawn.
Oh, but they found a punch through now, and this is where the time starts to really crunch for Southern Miss. Trophy's going down on point as well, meaning stuns and nades are useless unless they all send it in there. Strong's found a route through underneath Vault. A few extra consolation shots. Needs teammates there to support. Rain's there to pick up the pieces. Oh, 1/3 is left on this. They have to try and get a spawn trap installed now. It's their only real chance there to hold this. And it's so much room now for USF to run deep. Look at the 2 players. Look at Kiko and Proof. They're going to try and wrap underneath Pool to create the flank.
Yeah, this could be a huge play as Rebel picks up 1 towards his spawn side and will try and move up. But of course, you do have Proof taking the route, as he said. And will he be able to pick up this kill here? It could be a massive one. It does slow things down as he rotates through and gets taken out. But USF, they're running out of lives, and they're going to start running out of time to actually get on this A point, as the push was a little slow and Southern Miss had the read, and now all of a sudden USF just have 1 more chance to get this tick. 5 ticks to 5 at the moment. So evenly spread, even though it's been very different stories across those A and B points. Southern Miss look like they're going to be able to hold on.
They've done fantastic. 9-2. And that right there was a real sweat on the forehead moment for Southern Miss. Yeah, when B went offline straight away, they had to then send it straight towards A, the easiest point to capture out of the 2. They found the 4 wipe and they immediately punished with the setup. And it was, you know, an unbreakable strategy and an unwavering talent from USF to send 2 players to pool to try and create the flank. But we saw it again. They were very panicky and over-adjusting, knew what it just meant to try and get that round converted. But I feel like Southern Miss got away with a lot there, and they really shouldn't have. And it's one of the things I think that we will now understand USF are kicking around that round.
Yeah, I mean, USF will be feeling like they should have got that A point captured at some point. They had gotten the harder job done at B, and then you go to the round prior, Southern Miss getting way more out of their offensive round than they really should have at the end up. Ultimately, 2 rounds where USF can both look back on and think that there's ways that we can improve. But again, you just do have to give credit to Southern Miss the way that they've played, as they now try seemingly replicate their strategy at A again, try to pick up the kills and get through, and Rain with the huge 2. On the point, not quite as dominant as the last time around, as they know they have the flankers coming through. USF doing a slightly better job this time defending, although Rain is continuing to fire off for his side. 21-12 on a 4 streak. popping off, almost getting more kills than 2 players on the side combined. Strawn and Kawa, he is absolutely slaying out now for Southern Miss.
I know, Orbsy again is trying to dip in outside of the north side lane to add pressure with the AR, and finding a trade is still impressive here in this close quarters combat setting. But you have to think again, when do we have to apply the pressure now to start exploring a proactive play? Because there is also B to consider. And Southern Miss, this time around, have gotten a longer stall on A, so they're sticking to the same strategy. Not as quick as round 1, but here in round 3, look at what Strawn's doing. He's routing towards the north side. He's trying to get kills underneath Vault, but his death is crucial to USF's success. Now they can start allowing Proof to push up higher, and they can also allow as well Rebel to cut through the middle to create this awkward tension, stall a push, or even just distract players from the original set play from Southern Miss. There's a lot of moving parts here right now.
Yeah, Southern Miss have far more control this time around in the offensive than they did the last time. They have A gone, and they are pushed up heavily. Could force USF to spawn out while getting on this B point. This could be the offensive round that they need. They kind of have to look both sides here, as they know Penny Slays is in an awkward position for the pinch. Rain is just going to be trying to lock down up top, and is going to be able to continue to do so on a killing spree of 5 now. A key position in top art. Will he pick up the next? He won't. He gets taken out by Rebel, who is also 24 and 15 slaying out for his side. It's Rain versus Rebel for these 2 sides in terms of the slaying power. Southern Miss are getting this B point ticked up with 13 to 11 as well, ahead on the lives and a minute left to go. This is a great spot for Southern Miss to be in right now.
I know, but USF have got the better positioning. Because of Rebel finding the position in Palace, it allowed Penny to have the opposing side of this lane completely controlled, because he was the lurker, the island player for the team, forcing Southern Miss then to take control in mid, which is not optimal in terms of getting onto the point, and just inviting your team to be slaughtered with 2 submachine guns through any exit at any time. So they're now going to start rinsing live, and that's their play right now, USF. 38 seconds left, time's been left alone, and this might be a interesting play. They've committed to a spawn trap, but they also again have to wrap back towards point. Southern Miss, though, are completely bamboozled. They're spreading, forcing themselves towards range, try and find a hole to punch in this setup. And this is where now you start crunching the numbers and making your way over.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge play now from Southern Miss. They got to pick up a wave of kills, get flooded towards that point, as you will see Orbsy trying to get pushed up, but Rebel round the back. 10 seconds left to go. He called it perfectly. USF just had complete control of the lanes. Rebel to pick Southern Miss apart and should have this site locked down. I believe finishing on 9 ticks now, Southern Miss, if I haven't miscounted. Great round, great amount of ticks for them to have. But you have to give credit to USF. They locked down that defense on the B site immaculately.
Now remember that number for round number 5 as we go there, chat. 9 ticks is what Southern Miss have. And USF pretty much tied it on the first. Both teams got 5 in their opening round. So we're going to need to see a similar attacking play on B. But this is the problem when I think you pull out an up-the-sleeve strategy, a wildcard strategy in round number 2 for USF. You're going to see Southern Miss now start to prioritize B, and knowing, again, that was a huge weakness, and USF converted it straight away. But if we held them on A, hey, we actually stand a pretty good chance, you know, because that's one of the hardest things to do. So it's now just weighing up the pros and cons.
Yeah, and once again, USF looking like they're going to go back to B and picking up a huge 2 to begin with as well. Again, if they just get 2 ticks on this B site and are able to cap A, they will be ahead on the ticks and picking up a huge wave of kills. USF have had so much control of this B lane in both their offense and defensive. They seem to love playing down this lane.
They don't really change things around, do they? But looking at the way look at the way in which they actually execute it, and look at the way in which Southern Miss now have tried to adapt to it, and it's worked just about by the skin of their teeth. It's a really, really tight call now because USF are spawning on towards A. Strawn now has to make the big gamble and try and get towards pool, and then regroup with power to try and break because Rebel's found his way through. He can just try and hold his life or invite more teammates to come in and help. But Orbsy again with the AR, not in the best position in this situation. Had to come in to support the team, but ideally hadn't had the weaponry to convert the job. And now USF are starting to apply pressure here on A. If they get 2 ticks on A, they can play split tick and completely pressure Southern Miss out of the round.
Yeah, absolutely. And so far doing a great job of getting close to that point, but they are going to have to get pushed out of spawn here. Southern Miss have stemmed the bleeding. They have slowed the flow of USF, but a big kill coming in for Kiko around the side, which means they can now get pushed up towards B. You'll see in your map there, folks, 2 making their way towards that site. A cap on B would be huge. It's going to be up to Orbsy to try and get a pick, with the players pushing in around the side as well. Huge moment with the contest coming in, but again, the kills for USF is doing such a great job here, I have to say, getting that point secured, and now surely alarm bells must be ringing for Southern Miss.
They haven't quite found the opener. Rain again, left all alone, being the island for the team, but has to try and find a quick wrap to support, because A still is alive, and USF, oh, I was gonna say populated it just in time, but Rain's found the important kill in the open. And now they haven't even coordinated the strategy to get back into the point here. USF are going to try and play on the extremities again, wrap through the spawn and Southern Miss. And that's really the idea that Proof has in mind. But there we go. 3 are dead. They can start getting time again, Zep.
Yeah, this could be the nail in the coffin for Southern Miss, unless they can go huge. But Kiko playing the trade. Rain has done such a good job for Southern Miss. I mean, put some respect on his name. A 40 bomb, but it may not be enough as USF take the offensive round, take the map 3-1 and go 2-1 up in this series. Massive congratulations to them. You had Rain for Southern Miss absolutely popping off, but only one man can do so much against a very, very competent USF side.
And USF taught not just us, but everyone else a lesson that the alternate strategy on Vault is actually really powerful. B to A, never seen it as effective as what was converted in rounds 2 and 4. They knew how to convert B, even when they got wiped off by Southern Miss, and they thought they had the setup in place. They just applied pressure on A to a point where they got rid of the overload on B, and then glued themselves back onto that to get that final third Zep. It really was just timing your numbers well, and that's all you really can say. And the way we have to now look at this again is 2-1 to USF Esports. Again, the underdog in this series on paper, but given now that we are near enough around the corner, the end of March is going to be the conference playoffs when we slap together everyone from the Southeast region, and USF are not really representing the number well. They definitely are putting on a show and really taking Southern Miss Esports, ranked number 4 so far in the division, to the absolute limit. And this is where the maps themselves start to explore a new realm, Skyline Hardpoint. And we're going to go to a map mode combination that stylistically, from what we've seen from USF, benefits them a lot more than Southern Miss. The fast players, Rebel is going to be unreal. Rain as well from Southern Miss has to lead to a very high degree, but also match Rebel pace for pace. There's going to be a lot of asking from a set system of Southern Miss and one player's weighted shoulders. That's going to be Rain.
Yeah, absolutely. This map suits USF far better, but it is also worth noting that Southern Miss Esports across the next 2 map mode combinations are flawless. So this is going to be a very interesting back half of this series. USF, if they're going to play the way they've played before throughout this series, you would surely think they're going to be able to come out on top. But for Southern Miss, if they can get Rain absolutely popping off on all cylinders again, frying with that sub, and if you can get the ARs holding down key rotational positions, I'm looking at that P1, for example, continuously being able to do damage there across P3 and the rotations to P4, then maybe I would see a world where Southern Miss are able to come out on top of this one. But I think going on form, if USF can just continue doing what they've been doing best throughout this series, they surely have to be a favorite to put a dent in the record of Southern Miss on this map.
They might have the opportunity to do so. And that's the big thing here as well, because so far from the overall scoring predictions, the Hacienda is incredibly accurate. The protocol as well, the Vault was just a stark contrast. I mean, Southern Miss had more reps and an even better positive record going into that one, but USF wiped the floor with them, and they won the attacking round convincingly to convert, you know, the overturn. And they were incredible on B. So I just think the players right now, I can base on map knowledge alone. A lot of rank play and scrims has done them very well. They at least know the spawn system and the spawn timings above all else. Especially knowing again when 2 players are at the lobby, where they're going to spawn up and how to deal with the pressure of the remaining 2 players in the map. And their ability to position the players to deal with that is just incredible on the fly. Whereas Southern Miss have more of a set idea on how that should look, how it should be dealt with. So again, the regimented leadership ideals that we see, and especially from the S&D and Southern Miss, but also again just the open flexibility of USF. And on Skyline, a map again where there's only really 4 main spawn points, and it's the easiest map to flip out of the set. USF want to make it mixed straight away, and they want to put a real clinic on Southern Miss straight away, similar to the Hacienda hardpoint. Let's see what the pressure says. Open break off this time around, and Southern Miss bombing it straight towards Pool. USF will touch time first. Kitchen fight in mid, and Penny has opened up the map now for his team to get some time on the board.
Yeah, huge start here for USF. Great play, and you made a great point leading into this map as well. It is just a case USF feel a little bit more flexible in the way they want to play. Southern Miss a bit more rigid in their setup, and USF will be able to capitalize and be able to be more aggressive and adjust better to scenarios. And so far showing up in that they're able to pick up some initial time on P1, but now Southern Miss do have a bit of control. They can start to get moved towards the back spawn. You have Kawa going around the back, going to be able to pick up one. However, dealt with by Proof, who picked up the angle. And so far it's USF back on the point as well, and they already seem to be reveling in the fact that this is a little bit more of an intense map, a close range map, as they are just slaying out for the most part and getting the time, reaping the rewards. And also this is a map where you can really chain hills together if you can outslay. They could have a similar showing to the Hacienda if Southern Miss can't disrupt them quickly, but they've done a good job here of giving themselves that chance by picking up that complete wipe of kills.
I know Kawa's running around them at this point, and it's stalled the push enough now to start focusing troops towards the helipad. The Rebels open, and Easy Zip could open up a huge spread. They could flip spawns here, USF. They have done so. All alone is Rain inside the hill, and this is where USF now can start eclipsing here. 19-point game between the two, but my goodness me, it really is just running into a barrel, and Rebel not slowing down for any other player in the lobby. Unbelievable opening, and just plants himself safely inside the hill, says, I'll sponge this, you guys go out and do whatever you want, get some confidence on the board, get some kills on the board. I need you guys to be hot for the remaining set.
Yeah, I mean, 8-3 with a minute on hill. What more could you want leading off a P2 on Skyline? But now the setup has to come in towards P3. And it has to be said, Southern Miss have rotated better. But could we see the USF slaying ability come true once again as they try to get pushed in around the point? Southern Miss surely will guarantee themselves around 10 seconds on this point. But USF may be able to stifle that here if they just get pushed in around the right sides. You look at their map positioning there, just trying to choke Southern Miss here. Coming at it from all angles. They collapse in, pick up the point. And now it's all up to Rain. She'll be able to pick up one quickly, does get traded, and now Southern Miss in a good position to break through once again. But you have to credit USF for that break there. Yes, we've been saying that they were aggressive and relying on pure aggression, but that actual push to break the point was clinical in terms of coming at it from all angles.
And they've understood what needs to be done, but at the same time, how can we maximize? Southern Miss Esports going for 20-second scrap time here. Rain here on the island to try and rotate, ready for the new hill. But Rebel, alongside Proof, is just trying to hold down scrap time and keep the spawns locked in. Now, this could be a very convincing 4-man push. Kiko hasn't actually alerted his position yet, but as soon as he starts killing, we start to see guns drawn, and Southern Miss panic. They're going to be spawning in kitchen now because of the new spread of players, and this is now where you start putting pressure on Penny to try and catch the push.
Well, this is exactly what we talked about with holding this P1 area. USF have complete control of that push. They get so much information. They know exactly where Southern Miss are going to come from, which means they're just going to be able to deal with the one-by-one, pick up the picks, completely controlling where Southern Miss are spawning. They have to run it into the palm of their hand, and so far having no luck in breaking through. Kawa managing to get towards the back, but Shirley's not going to be able to get much further from here, with Kiko also locking down this side. And you talk about shutting down players, that's only Orbsy's 3rd kill in the entire map. I mean, and that just, you have to give so much credit to USF for that. That's nothing on the player. That is just USF being able to shut down their opposition immaculately. And as we go back to P1, not a huge difference in the score to the point where Southern Miss are out of it, but they're going to want to see themselves on the top end of a couple of more of these next points quickly, or else USF are going to run away with it and take this series here.
Orbsy's had no luck so far of slowing down the map. USF are running pretty much with every single AR and submachine gun on full throttle, even picking up submachine guns on the floor. So it goes to show you again just where the pressure needs to be, and also again how much can Flak Jacket last at each player, especially given how many nades have been thrown so far in this series. We're still accountable for that right now, Zep, because at this point USF have pretty much blown up the entire hill, and they're also again just trying to make sure that they're stalling constantly. All you can really do on Skyline, the geography doesn't warrant tactical pushes or even, you know, positional spawns. It's just flip the thing and throw an aid.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you who may have been around back in the day, I mean, this map is sort of the definition of what you maybe call a Bocage hardpoint from Vanguard, if anyone remembers that. It's just complete
Great
chaos,
reference.
short range, madness. It is just lobbing nades straight onto a point. It's about being aggressive. Oh, a Bagger Fortress. Yes, that is another terrific reference in terms of how this map plays. I mean, it's just complete chaos. It's intensity. It's throwing nades. It's stifling a hill. It doesn't rely on those tactics, those team pushes. It's just making sure that, hey, if our team's not on the hill, I'm going to at the very least make it awkward. I'm going to play for picks and make sure that they're not going to be able to pick up a full 20 from the 20 seconds they have control. Rather make it 5 or 10 by purely just getting in, making picks, or at the very least contesting. It's just chaos in every sense of the word.
And the ideas aren't really working for 7 minutes. Sort of final kill there going to USF, but they're pushing on the lower ground. No one's really sticking it through corridor or even, you know, going through piano. They know again that they've lost all the gunfights there, so mentally it's starting to, you know, hinder their pathing, which is, you know, a crucial mistake on the Hacienda hardpoint. And USF, again, once they catch fire, they can keep doing that and just limit your range of motion and limit your pathing, which, again, is just such a coup de grace in hardpoint. You need all 3 lanes to actually get to the hill. And so far, we're just seeing 7 miss being funneled into one area. And looking at what Cal was doing as well. Still proactive, grouping together with teammates on the north side of the map. But USF want the high ground, watching over onto Hot Tub. And it's just going to open up nicely now where Kitchen can go their way. And look at where Orbs is. He's finally in a power position, and he can watch us cross beautifully.
Well, I gotta say, we give a lot of credit to Rebel, who has slowed down a little bit towards the second half of this hard point, but can we please take a bow for proof? 25 and 11. That slaying ability has been a huge contributing factor to completely nullifying Southern Miss Esports. But in saying that, this is the first hill where Southern Miss Esports have looked really dangerous, picking up a strong wave of kills, know where USF are going to spawn from, and if they can chain this into P4, there is a chance that they're able to pull this one back. But they seem to have been a little slow to read the push that USF are going for here, going straight for the back to regain on this P4, picking up the spawns, again, having complete map control for the next point. And again, this all just comes back to what we've been saying about them, that they're just a team that plays with more pace and utilizes that pace. They're not just running into things blind. They're clever about how they do it. They realized P3 was gone, but realized as well, as long as we lock down this P4, we are golden, as the setup is in, and they just paint that kill feed green, wiping down Southern Miss.
Oh, Proof just holding a static angle now at this point. Again, he's trying to find his pacing again, because that rhythmic flow gets 25 and 11. At least now he's still finding some good success, but he just needs to now tune the tempo down a bit to help the team, because 7 miss can capitalize quite nicely. More holes being opened up now in the setup against USF, but 20 seconds left on the clock, and one last final push is all they need. Hours the last one up, and they're spawning so far deep. They've managed to kill Keiko, but time itself might not be enough. One last wave, one last push. Can Strom find a way through? He gets one eliminated. It's a heavy stack on hill. At least the contest will all be available, but no. 248, they put the blocker in place. They smash the ARs onto the hill. The pistol can convert too. Oh my! USF, a finish that actually makes the world itself shake. 250, 114, a 3-1 in the series. What more can you ask for? The underdogs are on top.
My word, congratulations to USF, commiserations to Southern Miss, just getting schooled when it comes to hard point domination across both hard points, just getting absolutely ran through, for lack of a better word. 114 to 250, I believe 250 to 80 something, whatever it was that map won. Not there off the top of my head, but like just a completely dominant performance when it comes to those hard points. Yes, the search and destroy USF, definitely when it comes to protocol, they have some things that they need to learn, that they need to be able to improve for that map. But then on the control seems so dominant as well. That USF record 6-5 is bemusing to me after seeing their performance in this one, because either Southern Miss severely underperformed or USF massively overperformed. But either which way, you just have to give so much credit to USF. That was just a spectacular showing to watch.
Incredibly so. They didn't let go of the lead once, and it's a similar graph to what we saw in the Hacienda. Although at the start, 7 Miss actually kept it fairly close, but we can see the escalation actually start to take place after the P3 and the first set of rotations. Now, what makes a lot of interesting sense here as well is that their second chain from P1 to P2 had the most points accrued from a hill for USF, whereas, you know, the big plateau for me was 7 Miss from the first P3 all the way up to the second P2. 13 points points accrued across 4 hills, and it was just, again, USF absorbing all the time, relying a lot as well on Rebel and Proof, particularly in this map, to open things up, keep the kills on the board, but also, again, switching weapons around, definitely flexing to the right idea of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just USF really found their comfort zone with this particular map mode selection as well. I mean, potentially there's just a case of the record being worse with just getting other combinations that didn't really suit them. I think for the opposition that they played against here tonight in Southern Miss, again, you sort of highlighted it perfectly, that it is just a case of a team who's more flexible and more aggressive against a team who's definitely more rigid. I mean, Protocol Search and Destroy, if you can get the setups right, it's one of the most rigid maps that I could think of. And Southern Miss excelled in that map, all things considered. Again, USF, they very much had to rescue rounds. Southern Miss controlled the rounds that they won. And I just think USF were able to capitalize on that malleability, being able to be a little more aggressive for having to shake things up. Again, we've seen the plays that they brought into that vault control. They've done a great job of stretching Southern Miss. And when you stretch something rigid, it's most likely going to break. And Southern Miss definitely broke on that vault control and never fully recovered going into a Skyline hardpoint, which is the definition of chaotic and frantic. It was just, again, so great to watch for USF, seeing a certain play style just being able to counter another, and both teams clearly very good at what they do. Just on the day with the maps that were presented in front of them, USF were able to do what they did better.
Exactly, and it was just unexpected from the beginning. Maybe we shouldn't put all of our laureates on 7 Miss straight away, just from numbers alone, you know, in the rankings itself, because USF performed like a top 3 team today in the Southeast Division, full stop. It was just impressive on the respawns. The S&D, only really criticism for me would have to be at least, you know, having some set strategy and also having a bit of a leadership figure on the attacking rounds, similar to what 7 Miss managed to do. They always had a set plan, they stuck to it. If the plan didn't go to fruition, they had 5 more in backup and it would convert them to rounds. And yeah, they need to improve their attacking rounds in the search and destroy. That's it. Their hard points are flawless. They blow, you know, 7 Miss out the water. They're 4th currently in the table. And even in the controls on Vault, again, very exciting. The real problem again with control though is that we only are going to have 1 in the series, and I feel like now it could be just a hard veto for Vault against USF, and then have to start going through the whole loading process again on Protocol or on Red Card. So I have to, yeah, I have to respect again what can be done, but can they change the map pool around and make it a bit thicker? Yeah, that's gonna be the question to ask, because the Hacienda control, we didn't get to see that today. Red Card, S&D, and Hardpoint not in there, and things are going to change drastically throughout the season. We've got a long way to go, and things that might be good now for them are going to change. They're not going to be falling in favor with some maps, and the same goes again for USF and Southern. Just adapting as you go, but also again taking the hits when they come. It's a loss for Southern Miss today, but again, both teams are going to be in the playoff bracket, so they have got now to try and tighten it up for what could be a really crucial stage later this month.
Yeah, absolutely. To get the opportunities to tighten it up, and I think both teams would be very happy with how that series went, in a pure sense of being able to take things back to the drawing board and knowing where we need to improve. USF, for example, they absolutely know that they probably need to improve their search and destroy game in general based off their record, but especially when it comes to the protocol, the lack of reps, it really showed. I mean, once a round went past 20 seconds where they were on the offensive side, they looked stranded, they looked lost, they didn't know where to go, they had no backup plans, no ideas, and we're just there for the pickings really for Southern Miss. Whereas again, Southern Miss, the reps, the comfortability on those maps, again, maps that suited them being a bit more rigid, they were able to take full advantage of that. But then Southern Miss also got lesson in not being able to really deal with sort of the aggression of being stretched from side to side and not always being able to handle being put on the back foot early on. They need to learn a little bit more as a roster to be able to regain and make the most out of their time, especially on those smaller maps.
Absolutely. Well, without further ado, let's not keep you all waiting. Our next series, of course, is coming up shortly. We'll say goodbye for now and hope you enjoyed the show, and really hope, again, that today is going to bring some more action like that series we just had right there. My name's been Connie, alongside, of course, Zep. We'll see you all very soon for the next one. Take care. Have a wonderful night.